Hello friends, Ben Ochart here. Thank you so much for tuning in. One of you asked me for the status of the Expertmatic internal filter with the clear housing. I'm going to go ahead and give you the answer to that question, and I decided while I'm at it, why not show you the status of every filter in my fish room. So let's go ahead and get right into it. We'll start with the filtration on this 300-gallon African Cichlid tank. You'll notice there are two outputs coming in from each side. The tank is drilled in the back for two return lines, and those return lines represent water that is being moved from a sump by two Cichlids pumps, one for each return line. And then at the back here, you'll notice a sponge. There's a sponge cover on an intake, and that's for a Fluval FX6. The 40-gallon breeder that is working as a sump is a DIY sump that I put together. It has, you can see the two Cichlids 5.0 Synchro pumps going through some vinyl hosing, and then that connects to some hard plumbing. In this side of the pump, you can make out a little bit of Sarah. There's some Sarah biomedia down there. If you go over to this side, you can see the sponges a little better. And this is just 3 sponges. The water comes down from the tank into a sock. There's a little bit of crushed coral in here, a little bit of activated charcoal, and some 4-inch wide sponges that were picked up from Swiss Tropicals. So the water just flows through those sponges over the biomedia and gets pumped back up to the tank. There are no baffles in this sump. Behind the 300-gallon, we have an FX6 canister filter, and it's returning water to the top center of the tank. So between that and the 2 returns from the sump, you have quite a bit of water movement going on in that aquarium. You can see the Synergy overflow box. 2 drilled holes dump water into it, and that water goes down 3 pipes. Main pipe on the left that you can adjust with a gate valve, a center secondary pipe, and an emergency overflow pipe on the right. You can see the braided vinyl hosing that comes from the pumps and then goes into hard plumbing. It's like that on both sides, since the tank was drilled with 2 return holes on the upper right hand corner and upper left hand corner. There's a heavy duty controller on here from Gemco. It can handle the 1800 watts combined wattage of the 2 heaters, but the tank is at the desired temperature, so it turns the power off. Just the equipment and the ambient room temperature keeps the tank at 80 degrees right now. There are one-way valves on the return plumbing, and that way when the power is off from working on the tank, it doesn't back siphon and overflow the sump. Highly recommended if you're going to have a sump. Moving over to my little betta tank. It's a 29-gallon betta tank that is separated by a Life with Pets aquarium divider. Does a great job. And this tank is being filtered by 2 of these Cichlids micron filters. And these micron filters, they do a great job, and I like them for a betta tank because they don't create a lot of water flow, which is something you don't want with betta. They like their water to be nice and calm. You can see this guy here, he's thriving. Got some Sprite up in there. They love playing in it. Got some Anubias down here, some almond leaves, and there are 4 Culiloches here. There's some Anubias right there, that little Anubias that's thriving. 4 Culiloches and a Pleco on this side, and There's a pleco on that side helping with the algae. The one complaint I have about these filters is the suction cups actually kind of suck and it becomes detached pretty regularly, but I don't mind, and I'll tell you why. When it's detached like this, the output is flowing into the glass and dispersing, and so it's not a direct flow, so I don't care. As long as the intakes are working, I'm happy with these filters, and so I don't care if they're hanging loose or stuck to the wall. But I'd rather those filters had magnets on them. There's one on each side here. You can see this one also, if you can make it out right here, it's also detached and just sort of dangling there. And that's my only complaint about those filters. Otherwise, they're workhorses. They're quiet and they do a good job, and the fish are happy and healthy. If we go over here to my live bear tank, very, very simple. I just have a Aquarium Co-op, their smallest sponge filter. And when I rinse that thing out, it's like a bucket of mud comes out of it. I'm just shocked at actually how good it is at attracting and holding on to detritus. Just a simple sponge filter. You can see the live bears are doing great. You can see the number of fry that are growing. So there's always babies in this tank. But this one only has a sponge filter. Gets rinsed out like every 2 weeks when I do a water change. And I've added some additional Sprite. Again, this gives a hiding spot. There's one right there. Hiding spot for the little guys that are always being born in this tank. I also have airlines. I have some of these pumps that this one happens to be from Aqua, but this pump will continue working in the event of a power outage. I also have several of the Aquarium Co-op pumps that do the same thing. This is a hospital tank, quarantine tank, also the home of my Siamese algae eater, my SAE. But here are the three electric blue Acaras that I just recently picked up here locally at Music City Aquatics. You can see that my visit to that fish store. And I have a very old school sponge on here. Check it out. Old school sponge, just a simple sponge. Works very, very well. And see, the air comes out of there. So it aerates. And I also have one of those Expert-Matics on here. Instead of using 3 cylinders, which would be overkill for this aquarium, I just use two cylinders. So this tank gets a lot of filtration. But it is a quarantine tank. All three of these little guys are doing great. Here's the 90-gallon, home of my silver dollars, a couple Severums, some beautiful Geos, AC Hecali. Used to be classified as a Geo, not anymore. My Buenos Aires Tetras working as schooling ditherfish. They've become a bit more confident since I first put them in, so they're not schooling quite as tightly as they used to. But on this aquarium, what I have is 2 Marineland filters. These are just those real simple Marineland bio wheel filters. As they've gotten older, the wheels started turning a little slower, but they're workhorses. They're quiet, and they do a great job. I rinse out the sponges I have inside of them, I'd say maybe once a month. And between the 2 of them, they keep this tank looking real good. I really never have to do anything to this substrate because the geos are constantly turning it over. So the tetras are having a little meeting. Moving over to the 55-gallon planted aquarium, which you can see is in pretty good shape. Plants seem to be doing well. A lot of Anubias, crypts, some bow back there. Some aquarium co-op heaters, two of them, I believe two of the 100-watt ones are in this tank. This tank is being filtered exclusively by one Marineland hang-on back filter, just like the two that I just showed you on the 90-gallon. And as you can see, that one filter is doing a great job with this aquarium. Here's the 55-gallon, also serving as a hospital and quarantine tank, and currently the home of this beautiful red terror. It's a male red terror. You can see what he's done there in the back of the tank. He's buried the rock, practically buried a rock that's back there, and created a pit all the way down to the glass. Maybe he's thinking I'm going to get him a female, but I know that these kinds of fish love to rearrange the aquarium, redecorate as they call it. And I have removed the plecos from this tank. He was harassing them, and so I took them out. But here is the clear body Expert Matic. And it is doing a great job, creating a tremendous amount of surface tension breakup with all of that aeration. You can certainly turn down that aeration. You can stick the you can remove the venturi, that little hose that's pulling air from the outside there, or you can stick the end of it in the water, and that will eliminate all the bubbles if you don't want all those bubbles. These big fish need a lot of oxygen, so I provide as much as I can. Sometimes if you're messing around or if you're moving a lot of substrate around, the sand will get pulled up into the sponges. And if enough of it gets pulled up, this bottom sponge will collapse like an accordion because the water is putting a lot of pressure on it. So it'll compact it, and that'll tell you it's time to clean this thing out. It can go about a month. And then all you do is just unfasten the bottom 3 compartments and rinse them, and then just fasten it back on. This is a much better built unit than the other one, but it doesn't have any holes on the side. All the suction is coming up from the bottom. So if it unsticks from the glass and drops onto the substrate, it's just going to suck up substrate. Fortunately, the Expert Matic uses some very, very good suction cups, and these things are good to a fault. I mean, it's almost impossible to move it. And again, magnets would be great, but if I can't have magnets, at least give me some great suction cups, and these do a great job. He's gotten a lot braver. Here in the 300 gallon, I have 2 forms of filtration, and I have a DIY sump, just like you saw on the 300, practically the same setup as I have on the 300. In other words, the water just flows down into, in the case of this tank, it's just a small 29 gallon with sponges. Again, sponges from Swiss Tropicals. It all dumps down into the water, goes through an overflow box, a Synergy overflow box, and then is pumped back to the aquarium with one Shisei 9.0 pump. And just like I have a FX6 on the 300, on this tank I have a Sun 704B, which I'll show you down here. As you can see, it runs quiet. Can you hear it? It is absolutely quiet. It's about 4 years old, maybe 5 years old. And I have videos on how to make these units run forever and run quietly. You can check it out in my canister filter playlist. That being said, I do keep a sensor. This right here, this is a water sensor. And if those little electrodes or sensors there detect water, it sets off an alarm. It's called a bulldog system. Here's the alarm, pointing up the stairs towards the house. So if there was a problem with that canister, I would hear it. And of course, as a second safeguard, I have it sitting in a Rubbermaid tub. So I have all the necessary safeguards in place in the event of a canister failure, but I haven't had one. I keep the O-rings in good shape, replacing them if they're cracked or have flat spots. And I use food grade silicone lubricant on the O-rings. So together with the sump, the Sun 704B helps to keep this tank in really good shape. As you can see. So that's every filter here in my fish room. Share your thoughts below. I'd like to hear what you have to say. We all learn from each other on this channel, as you know. And I hope to see you on Saturday where we can talk about filters and fish and everything else at the Cichlids and Coffee live stream. And that's every Saturday at 11 a.m. Central, 9 a.m. Pacific, noon Eastern. And if you like the video and the channel, be sure to give it a thumbs up, subscribe, hit that notification bell. Lets YouTube know something good's going on, keeps the channel growing. And if you'd like to support the channel further, consider becoming a member of the Garage Gang, a Patreon supporter. The details on how to do that are all noted below the video, and it starts for as little as $3 a month and is very appreciated. Thank you, my friends. Hope to see you again soon. That's it for me. Bye-bye.